Hey, welcome to the All of You podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Siobhan Roy.
And I'm Dave Martinell.
Our relationship hasn't always been easy. Especially in the beginning, we were getting in the worst conflicts that sent us down a path of deep healing and inner work in order to get the relationship that we wanted.
So whether you're on your own healing journey or just looking to improve your relationships overall, we hope that by sharing our lessons and struggles, we help you along your way.
And with that, welcome to the podcast where we accept all of you.
Hi, Siobhan.
Hey, David.
So I had an emotional breakdown this week.
Yeah, you did on Monday, which yours normally are on Mondays and mine are normally on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So it was perfectly on cue.
I haven't had a regular full-time job in 4 months.
It feels like 4 years.
Yeah, it does feel like 4 years. And it's weird because you'd think, like even this morning when we woke up at 5 a.m., I don't know, was it 5:30 our alarm? And you, why do we wake up at 5:30 a.m. even though we don't have full-time jobs? I think it's just to build some type of regular rhythm in our life and not, I can't imagine, I would hate to be the person that doesn't have a job and wakes up at like 9 a.m.
Yeah, it's almost like a mental thing.
Yeah,
where,
at
we
least
have
I'm
to have
getting
a
up.
schedule. We have to be up and doing things.
Like, I may not have a job, but at least I get up at 5:30 a.m. every day.
We also we have stuff we have to get done.
We have so much stuff.
We have to get up early.
Yeah, I have a lot of part-time jobs. But we woke up and you go, what day of the week is it? And I was fully going to say Monday.
I thought it was Saturday.
It is currently Wednesday.
No, it's not.
No, it's currently Thursday. It's Thursday. And yeah, we're just that out of sync. But I haven't had a full-time job in 4 months. Feels like 4 years. And I still, what was I going to say? What was the point there?
You had a mental breakdown.
Oh, I still, for some reason, my body feels it on Mondays. I still get a case of the Mondays and I don't even know it's Monday. Like if you were to ask me what day it is on Monday, I probably wouldn't know, but my body will still have an emotional reaction to it being Monday and feeling all the things I need to get done. Like for whatever reason, every Monday I reset my to-do list for the week for 10 years, it feels like, or even longer. Just your whole life from going to school, you're in this normal cadence of the Monday through Friday grind. And I still feel all this stress every Monday.
Yeah, it's just conditioning and patterns.
So I had an emotional breakdown, which happens every Monday, but this one was worse.
It was your worst one in a long time.
Yeah. Everything hit me. My bachelor party is this weekend, and so I'm not, which is great, but I'm not getting a lot of work done. So I felt like the week was kind of shorter in a way, and I had a lot of stress. It was just a lot going on that kind of hit me, but it brought up the topic that we wanted to talk about, which is setbacks. And not just an emotional breakdown, but really falling into an old pattern, because that's kind of what happened. I fell into an old pattern. Luckily, I didn't handle it terribly.
No.
I actually handled it pretty well, but it just brought up the topic in my mind of and to be honest, had I handled that terribly, it would have been a way bigger setback. It was probably 100%. An hour. It was probably an hour or two. Well, so what happened was I got up in the morning. I was like, I'm going to edit the podcast first thing Monday morning, get that out of the way so that I can focus on the yard the rest of the week and not have to do a bunch of editing. And sometimes it can take me a while to edit it. Went to edit and I hated the beginning of it. It was so bad. Probably how I'll feel about this one, to be honest. But it was so bad, and I just felt overwhelmed and had a lot of negative self-talk happening in my mind. And then I ended up like abandoning editing because I just couldn't get through it. And then I went out and you said, you're like, why don't you just go get a win? Like, what's something that you can do that's easy for you? And so I went out in the yard, started digging a ditch, and then I ran into the biggest root I've ever seen in my life. And that caused me to break down into tears, basically. I came in and I just like went off about the root, and I just was so overwhelmed. And
well, and I think you should probably clarify, like, that root turned what should have been maybe 2 hours of work into, oh, this is going to be a 10-hour
all day thing.
All day.
And my back.
Extravaganza.
Also, on top of that, I threw out my back a little bit a week or two ago. So I tweaked my back, and I have a lot of work to do. So the back pain isn't helpful. So yeah, I was just overwhelmed. And then running into the root, I was like, I don't know if my back can handle it. Like, I don't know if I'm physically going to be able to get through this root. But I made it through. My back is feeling a little better, and I'm feeling better. And in growth, in season, if you're trying to grow personally, and you have personal development in the forefront of your mind, and you are reading books or listening to podcasts and trying to change your behaviors of some kind. Maybe you're trying to quit drinking, or maybe you're trying to, hang out with a little bit more positive influence people in your life, or focus more on work instead of partying or coping or whatever, right? Whatever your goal is, sometimes your old version of yourself claws back at you. And the way that we talked about it last night was like, you have like a old pair of shoes that fit right, and then you get a new pair and you have to break them in. Like, sometimes you just want to put on the old shoes because that's what feels good. And new seasons, new growth doesn't feel comfortable. It actually feels like when you moved into this house, it felt really uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, sometimes it's so uncomfortable that it makes you question if it's right.
Exactly.
You almost think you're moving in the wrong direction because the discomfort is so great.
That's where I want to sit. Right there in that pocket.
You love sitting in that discomfort.
Well, I want to sit in that part of the conversation. But yes, I do. I don't love sitting in discomfort, but I've had to grow so much in my life. Actually, I will say the season that I was most comfortable was the worst season of my life.
Whoa. Why were you
to the worst season of my life?
Why were you the most comfortable? What season was that? And what season was that?
Right before my divorce. Right before my divorce, I was drinking a ton, and I was hanging out with friends a ton, riding motorcycles around, like playing I was an adult child, kind of, It was a fun season. Like, I enjoyed hanging with those dudes. And
so that's what you mean by comfort, is like you were just playing.
I was just playing. Everything was playful. Everything was flowy and easy. And there was hard things tied up. Like, it's not, I can't wrap it up in a bow and be like, I just laid in bed comfortable the whole time. There was definitely parts of that season that were difficult, but yeah, I was trying to be comfortable.
When you say you were comfortable, it's because you were playing. But if you went back, what would you have done differently to not be so comfortable that would have made that better?
I think I would have taken personal growth more seriously and sought out discomfort. Like, literally seeking out ways to grow is kind of seeking out that discomfort. And the only way that I was actively seeking discomfort previously in my life that I feel like was at work to get more money and promotions. So I would take on a new role, even though it was going to be maybe harder, but it was because it was going to give me more comfort financially. So that was the way I was able to kind of process it in my mind. And then with housework, because if I could learn skills, then I wouldn't have to outsource them, and it's costly. So I would never be able to obtain a nice home if I couldn't build it myself, I felt like. So I just started learning how to build, and like I was in that industry anyway, so I kind of enjoyed working with tools. So there was like ways that I experienced discomfort through work and through, I would say, hard work, but internally, the inner work, I was not willing to do. I wasn't even willing to touch it. When I was younger and I was really involved in church, I did some inner work, but it was always like almost sold to me as like, do this inner work and you'll have treasures in heaven. Do this inner work so that you can get more. And that eventually that narrative I didn't buy it anymore. I was like, I don't believe God's up there like, you did a good job, so I'm going to give you a Tesla when you get into heaven. And also, if I was that way and I was that selfishly motivated, am I not missing the point here, kind of? Whereas now I see the benefits in love and in a relationship, and I have a more grounded reasoning for doing inner work. But before I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the view now is more perspective of if God calls you to love your neighbor, the way that you do that is through healing so that you don't cause harm to your neighbor without knowing it. If you're not doing the inner work, you're going around and not able to love well because of the wounds inside you that cause pain on others.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of had to come to terms with all that in my 30s, I guess. And that was really uncomfortable. So, tangent on discomfort, but I wanted to sit somewhere in the conversation though.
You wanted to sit in the discomfort of
the new shoes.
The new shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you're trying to change your life. And I wanted to talk about how those old shoes kind of look super comfy. So, like, what I mean by that is, like, you moved in here from your 1-bedroom cottage in OB and you were uncomfortable. So this was an upgrade for you in a way. Like, it's a house with a view. Now you get to be a co-owner of this house, and you were renting before. Like, it was new shoes for you. You have this family that loves you and you love them, and you're gaining the things that you want in life. But
I gained a partner, I gained kids, I gained a home.
Yeah. But you also had to let go of some old shoes, which was your freedom in whatever you wanted to do, whenever, to go get your nails done, or like, just, not that you don't have autonomy of your schedule, but in this life, there's a little bit more structure with, commitments to the household and the kids and stuff like that. So you were willing to make that trade-off and you bought the new pair of shoes, but like, how was that experience, and how were those old shoes kind of calling back to you?
Yeah, there were a lot of blisters wearing the new shoes for sure. Because the new shoes require change. Like, it was a lot of change all at once. Even good change is still uncomfortable because it's new and you're not really sure what you're doing. So for me, it was like not learning to cohabitate with three other people that are always in your space. And I had cleanliness standards that you have to let go of when you live with kids. Like there's just gonna be toys everywhere. And it's never going to be totally organized as my one bedroom was. And I mean, learning how to parent and co-parent and build relationship with the girls, like all of that all at once was it's hard to actually put words to how much change I embraced in that short amount of time. And it was what I wanted and it was all good things, but it was absolutely overwhelming trying to navigate all of them at one time. And then also being a little bit further from my friends and community that I was used to seeing on a regular basis. It was an hour away. So it's not just as easy to go grab coffee with friends. Like it was a lot of rebuilding and adjusting, and then schedule being different when you have kids. Like just your flexibility for the time that we have them is a lot more limited. So, and it was the adjustment I wanted to make, and it was the direction I wanted to go. But in order to, it was truly the life that you want is going to cost you the life you had. Every single thing in my life changed when I moved in with you and the girls.
Yeah, and that's like a big extreme example, so I wanted to touch on that, but then there's also small ones, like mine on Monday. Like I'm trying to progress into a more fluid life of, personally, I'm trying to progress into this kind of work-life balance of trying to work every day of the week and not take Saturday and Sundays off. And, I think just with kids. And so I'm personally shifting into new schedules and new mindsets around work and play and family time and all that. And yet my body is patterning back to old things, or, I'm shifting my mindset around our relationship and little ways that I can show up better for you. And every once in a while, I get super upset that you're late to something, or we start the podcast late, and like these old patterns show up and they're inside you. I'm just trying to go into that experience a little bit of when that happens and kind of call it out by name. It's so tough to describe, but the awareness that I feel is like, I'm thankful that now I have some awareness when it's happening. I literally can go, this is old Dave, this is old Dave, this is old Dave, this is old patterns, these are old feelings that are coming up that aren't real. This feeling that we're late to start the podcast this morning, not real. I do have stuff to do today, but I'm not on any super tight schedule. I have to go to Home Depot for my usual daily trip to Home Depot. But like, it's just an old pattern that's kind of calling my name. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do.
It looks like you don't.
No. Sometimes I hate that we video record this. I know you're going to click over to me in the filming for that.
Looks like you were like,
it's my thinking face. I just can't hide anything on my face.
No, your face says
my
it all.
My face says everything all the time. No, that look on my face was me just processing and actually trying to come up with how to summarize it. And I think that Young Pueblo actually describes it really well when he says that sometimes we return to, and I might get this wrong, so I don't know if I remember exactly how he wrote it, but sometimes we return to old places and people and patterns to remember why we no longer want that or want to be there. That was definitely a paraphrase. Sorry, young Pueblo.
I know
But
that post. I think you got it pretty good.
I think it's like a subconsciously we feel comfortable returning to the past versions of ourselves, or we feel comfortable. It's almost like when you get a promotion, you are really comfortable in your previous role, but your current role, it's like all new responsibilities and it's uncomfortable. And you're like, oh, I wish I could just go back to being a, manager and not a director because I knew how to do that. And so we crave the familiar because we feel good in it. It's what we're used to.
Yeah, that's a great example. Like getting a promotion at work and like going to a new position, and you want the new position because you want new, you want to be challenged. Everybody wants to be challenged at heart. They really do.
Well, I'm not actually sure if you want the challenge as much as you want to be the person that
Is in that
is
role.
required to go through the challenge to get there.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the challenge and the obstacle is the person you want to be. You don't necessarily want to go through the obstacle, but you want to be the person on the other side.
We want to be the CEO, but we don't necessarily want to go through all the challenges and steps that it takes to get there. The problem is that if we go there and we become the CEO and we haven't faced those challenges, we'll probably fail. You might fail anyway. Even if you face all those challenges and you're great and then you become the CEO, it's still hard and you still could fail. But you'll be a lot more prepared and likely be able to do it, maybe. But yeah, we don't want to go through those challenges. But even so, let's say you are a manager and you get the director promotion and you're stoked. You get a $20 or $30,000 a year raise or $50,000 a year raise. I don't know, but like you're you leveled up and you're buying new clothes, you're feeling good about yourself, and you're rolling into work every day feeling fantastic. But then the challenges come in that new role, and you just have this old self that goes, this voice that goes, I wish I could go back to my comfort zone. Where's my baby blankie?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally, if I could name the feeling, it's called, where's my baby blankie?
Yeah, I actually said to you on the couch last night, I was like, oh, I haven't been in my comfort zone in so long. I miss it.
Yeah.
Because I just feel so stretched right
It's a
now.
craving.
And I have felt stretched for so long that I'm like, oh, I just wish I could be comfortable. Like this has been a lot. But I crave that, but I don't crave being the person that the girl living in the comfort zone was. I want to be the woman who's on the opposite side of all the challenges I'm going through. I know that she's going to be a better version of me. She's going to be smarter, more experienced, wiser, and have more to offer. But becoming her means that I have to go through all this. I have to stretch and stretch and stretch and go through all this hard. And those are all the setbacks that we're talking about. A lot of them, because it's like, even with the work that we're doing with this podcast, like we put content out there that totally flops. And we're like, and I have these moments where I'm like, what are we thinking? What are we even doing?
Yes, 7 people watched it.
Yeah, I have moments where I'm like, we are nuts.
Yeah.
We're absolutely nuts. We've lost our minds.
Yeah.
And then I have to like go, no, stick with the vision and get myself back in reality. But all of that to say, there's lots of micro failures along this path. And I think that's just life in general when you're trying new things and on a journey of becoming, you're going to keep failing. But the goal is to look at the failure with compassion and then go, okay, what can I learn? How do I adjust? And how do I keep moving forward? And not going, it's too hard. I just want to go back to my comfort zone, which is kind of what I wanted to do last night, to be honest. But here I am recording today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the awareness comes from knowing, like, I'm going to have that feeling where I miss comfort. I'm going to have that feeling where I'm being so stretched out of my comfort zone that I'm going to think I'm nuts. I'm going to have that feeling where I just want to stop everything and go and get in bed or go on a vacation, or I want to run I want to escape from the stress. I'm going to have that feeling. On the journey to the person that you want to become, you're going to have that feeling that you want to turn back around. It's going to happen. Every promotion you get, you're going to have the feeling that why did I take that? It's too much work. So what is going to get you through that feeling? Is it taking a break every once in a while? Sure. Like, is it going inward and kind of analyzing, am I under too much stress? Am I too stressed out? Can I actually handle this? You know what helps for me a ton is evaluating, how tired am I? Like, how's my sleep? Like, if it's late at night and I have this feeling, shut it down. Shut her down, go to sleep, and don't listen to my mind. Because at night when I'm tired, I not only want rest, I want to sleep for 7 days. Like, I'm so tired, right? In the morning, I'll wake up, I'll have a fresher mind, and I'll read something and I'll have all this inspiration to get after it again. If I'm editing the podcast and I'm in a negative mood, I'm going to perceive it through the lens of, we're freaking nuts. And so just knowing, like, where's my mental state at? Am I exhausted, or am I in a good state to even evaluate this? And don't make any decisions off of it. Don't say something rash. Don't quit your job because you took a promotion and then one day you're stressed out and you're just too stressed out. So you say something like, I should have never taken this promotion. They're like, okay, like, what do we do now? We promoted you. Do we fire you? Are you going to quit? Like, what's going on here? Just go. Maybe you do need a day off. Maybe you do need an extended rest. But if it's at nighttime, I probably just need that night's sleep. I don't know.
Yeah. Can I share another thing that you do?
Yeah.
Well, on Monday when you found the root, you came in here and you just vented it all out. And I just let you. And I just saw what was happening. I was like, oh, he just needs to get this all out.
There was one point, though, to give myself credit for how I'm showing up today versus like in the past. And I don't say this like out of a ego, but I'm very happy that I'm showing up this way now. Is I didn't dump it on you just straight. I did at one point go, I'm sorry, I'm putting this all on you. Like, I kind of checked in, like, are you
made
cool
sure
with
I
that?
could handle it. Yeah.
Because you might not be in a place to handle it, and then I'm gonna spin us both out.
100%. But I knew in that moment, like, we have really lofty goals and we have a tight timeline. And if I don't support you through this, it's going to be way worse. Like, no matter what state I'm in, I've got to hold space for you right now. And
well, we kind of both have to if one of us is like
really
redlining.
Yeah.
That's what we should call it. If one of us is redlining, the other one kind of has to stop for 15, 20 minutes, an hour. I mean, it happened to you yesterday.
Yeah.
And then I got mad at you. But we just have to stop.
Yeah, because Wednesdays are my breakdown days.
Yes.
We don't try to schedule them; it just happens. But
yeah.
Yeah. So I think I could tell you were flailing, you,
Quite literally.
you were flailing for sure. You came in after finding that root, and it was not good. No, not
I
good.
was sad.
Not good.
I
You were
was visibly
sad.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's a setback. It was a major setback.
And my literal back just
couldn't handle it.
I was afraid
you could not
I'm going to break my
physically
back.
and emotionally handle that root in the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
And I knew in that moment you needed to just process it and talk it all out, even say some things that were like kind of wild and out of left field.
Yeah.
And then once you got it all out, you went, oh, yeah, sorry about all those crazy things, like in other words,
Yeah,
like
like
crazy
I
things
didn't
I
say
said.
this, but in my
I
mind
just
I was
needed to
like,
get those out. And I was like, yeah, I know. I knew you didn't actually believe half the things you were saying. You were just panicking and freaking out, and you needed to work through that.
yeah.
And then you were good.
Yeah, it just happens. And being able to hold space and consciousness for the other partner when they're in the experience, when they're overtaken by the human experience is super helpful. That's like the polarity that's necessary, is one partner is freaking out about the experience and the other person goes into a state of consciousness and awareness that's like, let's just hold space here so you can let these emotions out. I'm not going to fix them. I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to let you release them and know that it's wild thoughts that are in your brain that you just need to express. Like, I didn't say it, but one of my thoughts was like, let's just sell the house. We'll have enough money to get married wherever we want to in as short a timeline as we want to, and somebody else can do all the work. Because I just couldn't fathom in my mind when I hit that root that I have to do all this work and the root. The root was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
And that's how I know when you've really like hit your limit, is you go to the most extreme situation where it's like, I've got the solution. We'll just sell our house. And I'm like, oh, wow.
You know why that happens in that moment is because I want to know that I have a shot to still have freedom. Like, I don't want to feel trapped. I don't want to feel, I feel trapped. And when I feel trapped, I like to find a solution out of that. And so I found other solutions. None of the solutions were even remotely a solution I was going to pursue, but it's just my brain wanted to know there are other solutions than going through this route. The best solution was to get back out in the yard and get under the root. Like, I had to dig underneath it, and I was able to do it, but it was hell, but I was able to do it. I put on some of my favorite music. I put on Code of the Friend, and it was like my favorite rapper, and I went to town. And I was jamming out there, and I ended up digging the other trench that day as well. And I found some momentum. And that's usually what happens. Like, before, it's this progress in life. You're going, as you know, using the example of new shoes, but as you progress in your growth, it's this wave, that's this tension that is boiling up. Your body is responding to that tension, and your old self starts clawing back at you like, this is too hard, this is too difficult, where's my baby blankie? You go back to comfort, and you have a choice. You can go back to comfort, or you can push through the tension. If you push through the tension or release it and some emotion, vent it out, have a good partner that can be there, a therapist, a coach, somebody that can be there for you and let you express it in a healthy way, you don't actually have to pursue any of those old patterns to go back to comfort. You can actually get through the obstacle. Then you get through the obstacle, and what's on the other side of the obstacle? Calm, but it's comfort, but it's also comfort and confidence. And it's a new version of you because you now have the confidence that you overcame that obstacle. So it's like, take somebody that's like public speaking and has this fear of public speaking, and they're just wigging out about it. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. They have all this tension boiling up. They might talk to somebody about it and get the energy, and then they go do it. And then once they do it, even if they fail a little bit, they're going to realize it's not as bad as they were boiling it up inside their head. So then the next time they have more confidence going into that event. So it's like this, I feel like that's just the cycle of personal growth in any facet, whether it's, just any area of your life you're trying to improve. You're going to be yeah, you're just going to find that tension and have to push through that obstacle in some way.
The obstacle's the way, though.
Making space to express that feeling of like wanting to go back is important, though, because you can white knuckle it, but I don't know. Emotion calls to be expressed in some ways, and like we always say, it's going to come out sideways. I'm listening to this book by Joe Dispenza, and he talks about emotion is energy in motion. And I think we've said this before on the podcast, but basically, like, when you have this boiled up or pent up energy, it comes out as emotion. And if you don't express it in the right way, like telling someone about your feelings about it, like me telling you, I am stressed, I'm overwhelmed. And when I told you, I'd said some things that I wish I wouldn't have said, and I didn't handle it perfectly, and that was the old patterning. But in some ways, I expressed it in a very healthy way, which is like, I need help, and I'm scared, and I need your support in these ways. Like, if you could support, and you supported me for a couple days and let me go buck wild on the yard, and I feel a lot better this week, because I got some of the biggest obstacles out of the way. I dug through like 30 roots this week. I was struggling with knowing that was the unknown of all where these roots were and how I was going to find them and how many I was going to have to deal with was causing me to panic. And I got better at it as I went. Each one got a little easier. I didn't stress as much. All to say, like, being able to express it to someone and say, like, I am scared and I could use support is way better than, coming home from work and you're stressed and you had this work meeting that kind of felt like it pushed you beyond you're in the new shoes, you're uncomfortable, you're in this new work meeting with people you don't know, you took on this new position, and then you come home to your partner and you lash out, and you're actually saying, I'm uncomfortable and I need support and I want my old shoes back. Where is my baby blankie? And that's all we're trying to say. But really, it comes out in, you can't even make dinner and have dinner ready on time, or you can't clean the house, or you can't help me in this way, or like you can't. But it's really like, I need support.
It's your inner
I'm
child screaming.
I'm uncomfortable. Can't you see that? Can you help me? And if we could just learn to say the words, I'm uncomfortable, can you help me? Instead of, you're wrong and you didn't do that, or you, like, make an I statement is huge. But that's the, like, how to handle it. But really where I wanted to sit is just naming that this is part of the growth experience. This is part of maturing. This is part of life.
Discomfort arises in different situations, and each situation is a unique flavor of discomfort I have to learn to sit with. So I'm getting more comfortable in general, or at least I would say I'm learning how to identify in my body, oh, that's discomfort, and just acknowledging it and then going, okay, yeah, I can feel this, and I can feel this and be okay. And then doing what I need to do. I think I'm getting better at doing that, but I wouldn't say I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Cool. Let's just keep going. Like, it's a process. Because discomfort is uncomfortable, as repetitive as that sounds.
Yeah. But if we can expect it and know it's going to be there, it's a little bit more, I don't know, maybe it helps to handle it.
I think it does. I think, but I think it's actually it's really about learning how to hold it. And the more discomfort you can hold, you can then, it expands your capacity for holding more discomfort. So I guess the way I would explain that is when you go to the gym, when you first start going, maybe you're lifting the 10-pound weights. And then a few weeks later, you're like, these are super easy. I'm going to bump it up to the 20-pound. And then a few weeks later, you're like, oh, I totally got this. I'm going to go to the 30-pound. And each new set, the moment you jump to that next set, when now I'm at the 30s, you're like, oh my gosh, the 30s are so heavy. How could I possibly lift these? This is impossible. It's so hard, but you keep doing it and you keep doing it until all of a sudden that 30-pound weight is easy and you're like, all right, on to the 40. And I think that's discomfort. It's expanding your capacity to hold it within your body. The more you can learn how to tolerate it, the more you can the more you can sit with.
Yeah, and I think that's the name of the game the whole time, because the other option is never being able to lift 5 pounds.
Well, if
Right?
you don't start lifting the fives, you'll never lift the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. So you have to start sitting with it if
Yeah.
you want to ever be a
Yeah.
weightlifter.
And sometimes life, it's just so scary.
By the way, I just want to point out, I clearly don't lift weights by that analogy.
No, but you do it in all the other form, and that's what I was just about to say is like that's the hardest part is like what areas of life are you trying to grow? And I mean, I've spent time. When I was in junior high, I mastered this uh, Nintendo game. I think it was called Unicycles. I don't know. I don't know what it was called, but
A
it was.
Nintendo game called Unicycles?
I don't know if it was called Unicycles or it just was a unicycle. You race these unicycles, and you're not right. Like it's not a person riding them. Like you pick the like kind of like a car game, and you can do flips and tricks.
But it's just one wheel.
Yeah, it's one wheel. Yeah, and you race, and they're kind of like animated little unicycles. It was a blast. I think it was on Nintendo. Yeah, Super Nintendo. I loved that game, and I was so good at it. And I would race it all the time with my friends, and I owned the game, so I was really good at it. I spent so many hours mastering this. I also spent so many hours mastering Tetris when I was a kid. Wasted skills, right? Like, I don't know, they were fun at the time, but I guess my point is, what avenue do you want to be successful at? That's a big part of it. Like, yeah, lift 5 pounds so you could lift 10, so you could lift 20, so you can lift 30 and 40 and 50. But in what field? In art, painting, photography, mathematics, accounting? You want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be the best lawyer ever? Do you want to be the best lawyer ever and suck at all your personal relationships? Do you want to be like, who do you want to be? And that's where I don't know if the school, we always kind of badmouth the school system, and I don't mean to do that, but my experience growing, I think like all of school right now is doing such a better job at this than I ever had in my lifetime. But it was always like, who do you want to be when you grow up? But it was always like one thing. Like, I want to be a doctor or a firefighter or a lawyer or whatever. It's like, well, I actually want to be a lot of things. And I don't want to drop the ball on one of these 5 things. That is a huge part of all of this, is what are the areas of your life you want to be successful in? And I don't think enough of us pick the actual most important one. which is I want to be really, really good at my most personal relationships. I mean, out of all the things that I don't want to drop the ball on, I'll drop the ball on this podcast. I'll drop the ball on work. I'll drop the ball on surfing. I'll drop the ball on snowboarding. I'll drop the ball on the clothes I wear. I'll drop the ball on my own personal cleanliness before I want to drop the ball at sucking as a dad or a partner.
Yeah, but we don't really want a smelly dad or partner. So if you could please not drop that ball.
I won't drop that ball completely because that would definitely push you guys away.
Yeah, we're not going to cuddle with you if you smell.
But is it more important for me to get my hair cut the right day of the month, or is it more important to show up at on time to get the girls and be emotionally available? Like like little things like that. Like, is it more important that I wear the right clothes and pick out, like, where you're scrolling Instagram or shopping online in the evening when your kid wants attention? Just like, what's more important to you, you know? And I just don't. That's the hardest part, is keeping your eye on those certain categories where you're trying to lift weights in.
Yeah. Well, I think to further that conversation, I go back to, and I forget whose quote this is, but the quality of your Esther Perel, quality of your relationships equals the quality of your life. So you think that your life is going to get better if you succeed in your job and you're going to have more money. But if you're putting that above your relationships, you actually won't get as far in your job if you don't have relationships that are supporting you in your career and encouraging you in your career. Like, it all plays together. I think we both experienced that firsthand when we both finished our programs that we were in when we first started doing this work. And you got a promotion at work right afterwards. I got an award at work right afterwards. And the money was following that. And so it all is very interwoven if you can focus on your personal relationships.
But I think choosing the category of what goals you want and like choosing those categories that you want to be successful in are really important to be able to withstand the discomfort, and then knowing that, like, that's the areas you're trying to grow in, because you can't. I have the problem personally of choosing too many categories. I'm trying to grow in every way of my life all times, and it works, but sometimes I have to zero in on pick like one or two, because I can just pick way too many hobbies and way too many things I'm trying to get better at. I come home with a new thing I want to be good at any day.
You have a habit of trying to do all the things. Well, I would actually say that when you have too many goals, that actually becomes a setback from getting you to your goals.
Yeah.
Because you can't do everything well. So you have to pick a lane, or else too many lanes becomes a setback in itself, because balls start dropping. And
yeah, and then you get overwhelmed, and that overwhelmed feeling can start your mind to call back the "where's my baby blankie?"
mm-hmm.
Yeah, this week got me. My old overwhelmed feeling was definitely causing me to want to go hide, sell everything I own, and move us into a tiny little townhome or something where we had no yard. I didn't even want a tree in sight for a minute there.
I have my days where I think that too, but ultimately,
Yeah, yesterday you said you didn't even want to do the podcast.
Yeah, I was done. I was all done. Yeah, we don't have time to unpack my breakdown, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
No, we do not. We are out of time for this episode. Yeah, I don't know. I still really struggle with sharing vulnerably, as you can literally tell right now. Currently, I'm struggling with it. So you wanted to do a post about our anniversary, sharing that like we had struggles in the beginning of our relationship, and I was like, nope, don't do it. We can't put that on the internet, which is actually hilarious because it's already all on the internet.
Yeah, you've already
like there was
posted
nothing new in that post
No.
that hasn't been done before. But I was like, don't post that. I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it's just your old self.
That was my old self
clawing
being
back.
like, this is uncomfortable. I'm still uncomfortable with it, even though I've been doing this for, gosh, truly, we've been recording for a year now. We haven't been posting that long, but we've been doing this work for over a year, and it still is uncomfortable. And I have those moments where I'm like, I want to go back to my old life. I want to be sitting in my cubicle making sales calls where I know that I'm able to crush it and it's easy and I've got it all down. I just want that comfort and old life. I don't want to share vulnerably on a podcast. I don't want to do this anymore and post on social media my life. I just want to lurk in the darkness like everyone else. Yeah, have those moments. But ultimately, I know the person I want to be pushes through those and shares and helps others because of it. And so I press on. But yeah, sometimes the amount of discomfort that this new path we're on has created is overwhelming for me.
Yeah. And I know we got to finish up, but I want to
So you just like added my little mental breakdown in there and now you're ready to wrap up?
No. I have another point that I forgot that I want to make is that this is really, really key for me. This has been really key for me in growing with you. Like growing with a partner is understanding this concept, because it can be really hard as we're moving forward in life and trying to create new goals and there's very few people that link up and they're like, we're here, we just want to stay here forever and not progress into, moving or buying a home or career or children or like no facets of life. Like most people want to improve in some ways. So if you link up with someone and you're going to be seeking improvement together, we're an anomaly, I think, in some ways where we want to improve a lot, but not everybody is that way. It's whatever you want, right? You set your own goals, but in learning how to navigate growth with you, I've had to learn that there's some days where your old self is inhabiting your body, and not to take that too personally, because that would cause a big fight for us earlier on. There was some days where your old self was like, I don't want to grow anymore. Why are you pushing me? Why are you pushing me? And I would take that personally. I'm like, if you don't want to grow, like, what are we doing? Because I want to grow. And if you're telling me you don't want to grow, then how's this going to work? But not taking your partner's word always like it's not always what they mean,
Yeah, it was really just me going, I'm uncomfortable. I want my baby blanket.
Yep.
It was just my inner child being like, this is uncomfortable. I can't handle it. I want to go back and crawl in bed with my blanket.
Yeah, and I can't expect you to always communicate that perfectly. So now I've learned and this is like huge this has been massive for our relationship, is when you panic at all or have a panic moment, I can kind of smirk and smile and go, and I just like I'll laugh and I'll be like, all right, you want to quit the podcast? It's really reasonable. Like I totally understand that this is the way that you would tell me that you want to quit the podcast too. Like in the middle of, some other thing that's popping off, like all of a sudden you want to, like, it's kind of like me telling you I want to sell the house when I find a root. You're like, yeah, this is a perfect time that you would want to, really consider selling the house. Like that wouldn't be a decision we think through at all. We might as well get the for sale sign out right now. But knowing that about your partner and not taking it so personally when they say stuff like that and going like, they're scared, and just kind of having grace on you and be like, you're scared right now, like you did for me. I can understand that, and I can empathize, let you process it all. And I have confidence 9 days out of 10, you want to be this version of you that wants to do a podcast, wants to grow, wants to, progress in life. And that's just growth. It is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It could be 1 day a week. It could be 2 days out of 7 that your old self is kind of inhabiting your body. That's still winning. 5 days out of 7, you're progressing. 2 days out of 7, you're not. Now, the key is, I think for me, is trying to, how much can I kind of skew that ratio to be, 29 days out of 30 that I'm moving forward. Then I'm going to get a lot more compounding interest, but it's just where you're at right now. But that is a huge partnership tip. Like, know when your partner's freaking out a little bit, they're just feeling a little unsafe, and they're having a moment where they would love to just be in a crib with their baby blankie.
Yeah, and if you take it personal, it's going to make it worse. Because it's not personal.
Because they're craving safety, and then you're telling them there is none. And that's not going to work. Like, it's like, hey, like, I get you're scared. I get you want your baby blanket. I get you want the binky right now. And then like let them process it, and then go like, but do you really? Like, no, I want the growth. I want the house. I want the progress. I want the kids. I want, some people get rid of a dog on a whim because they get overloaded, and then all of a sudden they're like, I can't take this dog crap everywhere or whatever, and you just don't listen to those like inner voices that cause you panic, and know that like those setbacks, that old self is always going to crawl back. Love you.
Love you too.